The explosion of the missile, after cut the part of the bodies and torn to pieces, these parts stick strongly in the ceiling, and you can see the flash, the innocent hands, and the burned meat. So you can imagine the tragedy of this crime against humanity. And you can see here, for example, who's come here in that time? The mother and 7 children, but the father still alive. Till now didn't speak to anyone. And this family, the mother and 4 children. The father, after 27 days, also died by the tragedy. And now only his son, Maytham. The mother and 5 children, the father, by a heart attack, also died. And now only his son, Ahmed, still alive. And there are, in that time, there are 422 persons here. But the people who killed here, 408. Do you see? 408, it means 113 complete family. And not all of it Iraqi people, but there are many Arab family, like Syrian, Jordan, Palestine, Egyptian family. Also Arab, Kurdish, Islam, Christian people. And this missile, when killed the all, mixed the blood for the all together. The aggression, United States also said, we bombed this place because for military operation. But you can see all the people here, civilian people, innocent, not military.
Seeing the damage that we did to these guys, it almost makes it worthwhile spending all the time that we spent over here.
And you can see the victims. Do you see who's that, the victims? Our parents, the neighbors, friends, the infants. Do you see? What's the guilt of them? But American killed the all without mercy. Okay.
Would you say that the crime against humanity has continued for 10 years?
America make the crime every day, since 10 years till now. And you can see the aircrafts all the days bombed the towns in Baghdad. I wish something to relieve this embargo from Iraq. That's enough. I have only this wish.
I lose my wife and my children.
And welcome back to the program. We're discussing Pine Gap, a secret US spy base in Australia near Alice Springs. And I'm talking to Donna Mulhearn, who believes that this base shouldn't be so secret. Donna, you carried out a citizen's inspection of Pine Gap. Tell us what that is and why.
We were keen to put the spotlight onto Pine Gap because we believe Australia's role in the war in Iraq through Pine Gap should be something open for public debate and open for public scrutiny and open to be challenged. We wrote to the then Defence Minister, Senator Robert Hill, saying, "Dear Mr Hill, we are citizens of Australia who are alarmed and alert about terrorism. We are good citizens and we know of a place where there's dodgy activity going on that's resulting in the loss of innocent lives in another place. It's called Pine Gap, and we'd like to do a citizen's inspection for suspected terrorist activity. If you give us the time and the date, then we can be there." He wrote back saying, "Well, no, you won't be doing an inspection, and if you attempt to do so, we will charge you under the Defence Special Undertakings Act of 1952, which carries very heavy penalties." And we wrote back saying, "Thank you for your warning, but we are moved to act on our conscience. And being good citizens and being responsible citizens, we must continue on our plan to do a citizen's inspection. So we will be doing it, and this is the date." We went to Alice Springs, met up with the local activists, got lots of advice and tips from them, spoke with the Indigenous community in Alice Springs. They gave us permission to enter the land and a blessing on our citizens' inspection. And they did note that no one had ever asked them before permission to build anything or to do anything in the area of Pine Gap. So we got our citizens' inspection team uniforms and we went out to the base a few days before to check it out and to make our plans. So we met the head of security, and again, everything we did was open and transparent. We're in the tradition of non-violent direct action, which means we wanted to be open and honest at all times. We basically told them what we planned to do and when. And so they were quite cooperative as well, and they said you can have your protest over there and you can hang your banners here. So everything was quite friendly. And so we prepared during the week. We are all Christian pacifists, so we believe it's part of our obligation, as part of our faith, to be opposing war and militarism. So we had some symbolic vigils out at the gate. Some people from the Alice Springs community joined us in that. We made our plan that we would go into the base one night and come in two different teams coming from two different directions. And from then on, it's quite a remarkable story because we've got 4 people who have never had any experience at all in breaking into anything. And so we trekked through the Northern Territory scrub, making our way through very thick scrub, pulling trees apart, spin effects everywhere, bumping into houses, electric fences, cattle, and all we could do was follow the glow of the lights of Pine Gap. And it's a very eerie feeling walking through the bush with this glow in front of you. Of course, at any moment, I expected that we would be crash-tackled from behind by some security guy in commando gear, because we did, after all, tell them we were coming. So it's not as if this was a surprise. And I must admit, the look of the base is chilling. In the middle of the night, it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I started to think to myself when I was falling over so many times over logs and into ditches, you'd have to be crazy. Why? Who do we think we are that we think we're going to make it into a CIA spy base when we're amateurs? We've never done this before. And as I kept walking, I was thinking this, and then the base got closer and closer, and I started to see people walking around inside. And the floodlights are so bright, it's bigger than anything you'd see at the MCG. The floodlights were going in and were going outwards. And then it struck me, no, I'm not crazy. This is crazy. This is the middle of the desert. It's a secret spy base. People are running around at 2 or 3 in the morning doing God knows what. We're not allowed to know. Even members of Australia's Parliament are forbidden to know what goes on at Pine Gap. We continued to move towards the base. Then a security patrol came along, a buggy with a spotlight on the top. We thought we'd been caught. And then we realised, as we were crouching down, that the buggy didn't see us. We continued walking on, and that surveillance vehicle came another 3 times, and we managed to evade it every time. Eventually the sun rose and the foliage thinned out, the trees were less and less, and eventually we were just walking in open air towards the fence. The other team, which we didn't know what was happening to them, had managed, as we expected, to get there before us. They'd reached the perimeter fence, the inner fence, cut the inner fence, got in deep into the facility, scaled a building, and unfurled some banners and icons, and then took photos of each other giving peace signs. The base was on high alert by the time we got there and were arrested as we were cutting the fence. Pine Gap was shut down, its operations were shut down for about 5 hours. Now, we don't know if that's ever happened before. We were amazed at the success we had in getting into that base. After we did this, we were duly arrested and charged, and then just before the committal hearing, we were notified that the Attorney-General, Philip Ruddock, had consented for the Defence Special Undertaking used to be evoked for the first time in history, and that we be charged under that Act. Now, this is extremely significant. It's a political and a legal first. It's essentially a blurring of the separation of powers, the political stepping into the judicial system, which I think all Australians should be very alarmed that this has happened. Of course, those charges mean we're facing 7 years in prison for what is essentially a trespass. So we're approaching trial on the 29th of May. It'll be trial by jury in the Northern Territory Supreme Court, and we'll be representing ourselves and presenting our case and our defence and appealing to